What is going on, everyone? This is Ryan with the Loth-Wolf podcast, and today we are bringing you another special interview-style show. Today I'm joined by the U.S. Grand Champion and only two-time North American major winner, Joe Colon, a.k.a. Honestly Sarcastic. Joe, congrats on your big win, and thanks for coming on the cast today.
Thank you. Pleasure.
How are you feeling after the Nova victory?
I don't know. So like the first day after was like death. Just you're not eating really well a lot of the times when you're out there. You're probably spending about $20 a meal, but then like I'm also being cheap, and then like overeating because I don't know when I'll get the next one. So it was just like it was rough, and then like tacos and lime rinds eating, and it's no bueno, man, no bueno.
So you told me earlier to ask you the hard-hitting question. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, what flavor milkshake is best to drink before an event like this?
My preferred one is like a banana milkshake.
Okay.
That's my go-to. But like if you just need something, cool and relaxing, then you got to go with like the generic, right? You got to go vanilla because like it's really hard to mess that one up.
Okay.
And the worst you can do is you go to some new spot in some crazy town you've never been to, and you Googled maps milkshakes, and they didn't bring all of the boys to the yard, but like so you find this place and you just buy it and you leave, and then you're like, man, this was terrible. This was a mistake.
Just setting yourself up for failure at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Nova event as a whole, how was it ran? Like, in your opinion, was it ran? I know there was a lot of confusion with kind of the weird cut thing that happened beforehand. So I don't know how it was there, obviously, because I wasn't there. So was the event run smoothly? Did people I know that people that were on the wait list could have gotten in had they shown up.
Yes. Well, okay. So the waitlisting and the limiting the number of people to play was a whole different ballgame. Like that was atrocious. But realistically, that wasn't done by the people running the event. So like they're completely segregated from that as far as I'm concerned. Nova as a whole, like that's a shit show what they did with the event stuff. And then like they pretty much were telling us to get out of there like at the end of I think day 1 because they wanted to run something else in the room. And it was just like, oh yeah.
They double
okay.
booked the room?
Not double booked the room. I think they wanted to do something else in the room, or maybe they
Gotcha.
close it up, or like whatever was going on. But I just remember a guy yelling, and then no lie, I thought it was Chris Terwilliger yelling at somebody. And like that's just because like the one of the last times it was just like at New Jersey, the regional, and there was the whole like Kowalski thing. And
I've heard stories about that. Yeah.
So like he was screaming that day, and the dude that was just yelling about whatever would like it just sounded the same, and I had no idea what he was saying. But I'm like, what's Twig yelling about now? And I talked to him later, or like I saw him, and then I was like, oh, it wasn't you. I thought that was you. And he's like, man,
He's just got that label now.
yeah. For me,
That's
at
awesome.
least.
Yeah, right. So event judging and all that was great.
Yeah, no, the TO and the judge, it was Gandork and James, and like there was pretty much nobody else. They did it themselves.
Wow.
They did have some help, I think, later. I think I saw Chris some point on day 2, but that might have been like with the draft and whatnot. But for the most part, they did it themselves. It ran really smoothly. There were a couple errors in like pairings at times because I think someone reported falsely or it got recorded falsely. Don't know who's at fault on those ones, but they got it fixed up, repaired, boom, up, good to go. And like what did you mean the snafu with the top cut thing? You talking about the thing where I was like, hold on, there might be changes?
No, not top cut. I meant like just what's it called? The people like getting into it, like if they were there, or the overflow, kind of how they cut down from the advertised amount to like 112 or whatever the max amount of people were. Yeah, the top cut, everything at that point seemed to run pretty fine. I was watching the whole thing streamed and it didn't seem like there was that much confusion.
Yep, no confusion there whatsoever. There were like a couple weird mix-ups with some of the I think the prizes at some point, just because like Raylo is not villain or hero, so they like those people always had to pick before the event and whatnot. So but like I think everything got run smoothly. Didn't know of any judge calls that were wrong, but usually if something's wrong, that comes up way later when someone finds out, and then they're like losing their mind. But like Gandorf's on top of his stuff. So
have you gotten your trophy yet?
No, I do not have my trophy. There's no wood.
Do you know when that's going to happen? Did they take down your info?
No. I got told to send an email about my flight, but no one mentioned a thing about the trophy. Like I didn't even know there was one. I had this mat in my hand, and I was like, "Oh, is there a trophy?" Because someone told me that, and they're like, "Yeah, they didn't ship it, or they forgot it, or something." And I was just like, awesome.
How is that even? How do they make that oversight? Like I don't understand how that just. I feel like consistently, like it happens. I can get it kind of with like the European championships or the Canadian championships because there's other things to go through. But to screw up a North American championship where they're based in Minnesota, that just blows my mind.
I don't know, man. No wood. Where's my wood?
Yeah.
I can't
I
find my
feel like,
wood.
yes. Send a couple more strongly worded emails.
No, I don't really care. Like, so whatever. Give me money.
And we well, yeah, I don't know if that's gonna happen. We all know you won. I just so before we go to Nova and go into that, I gotta ask what happened at Gen Con. I feel like you were 5-0 or XO at the time. I like stopped paying attention to you, just assuming you were gonna get on to day 2. And then the next thing, like I think it was Inception or something's like, oh yeah, Joe's X and 3. He's done.
Yeah. Well, so what happened was I hit 5-0 and I stopped also paying attention too because I also thought I was going to make it.
Yeah.
But no. So what ended up happening is so 5-0 just came off the win against Mike, and then I have to play against Jonathan Magnuson, and now so he sits down with Chopper, and we've never really had testing versus Chopper, and I did see the deck played at the game's Destiny event that was done in Minnesota by Michael Berg, who was a little kid that I was saying like he sounds like he. Oh, can I swear or no?
I mean, yeah.
No, no, no,
Why
no.
not?
Well, I just need to know if you need to clean it up. That's what I'm saying.
No, you're fine.
Okay. So yeah, so I like it. There was a point where I was like, I don't know if that guy's a little shit or like if he's just young and doesn't know. So like they came back and let me know like, no, it's a young dude. He's just like super amped about stuff. I was like, oh, okay. So
Right.
yeah, he's like the little shit on Xbox. Got you. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that takes me back to my college days,
That's
man.
Madden style, like
Yeah,
little,
made a
little
lot of friends
13-year-old
on
telling you he's gonna eat you for breakfast. Like you're like,
talking about my mother.
yeah, that's exactly. But yeah, so like he was playing that, and I was like, you know what, that's a really interesting deck. I think we should like look into it. And then I completely forgot all about it. People were like on this like on like BTL Chopper and other crap, and I was like, oh well, whatever. It's just gonna be some aggro deck, blah blah blah. Everything will be fine. But what ended up happening is I was accustomed to what I was doing in all the other matches, which is just like, here's an entourage, here's a second one, here's a crate, here's a fickle. Like, oh, okay, you killed my guy next round, and I mud stomped you. Instead, it was like, all right, I entourage convergence, and I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was that, and he would attack my R2. So then, if any of the upgrades I had were going to be pretty bad, unless they were the redeploys, and I did not have the redeploys in hand.
Yeah.
So I ended up losing my R2 at the top of 2. And the issue I had was that I miscalculated my crackback by a damage. He uses some like crazy big weird shield thingy. Like in my mind, it looks like not a deer, but it kind of looked like the spy versus spy head essentially. Like it's just like weird and like diamond shaped or something like that. But it's something else. I think it might be like a Mandalorian helmet.
Okay.
I have no idea. It's not even no, it's not a Mando helmet. I don't know why I said that. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But anyway, so he has these odd shaped shields. And like I knew it was a shield, like physically, because when he gained a shield, he put it there. So it's not like I shouldn't have known that. But when I like board checked, it didn't register as a shield in my mind. Obviously, way too much TTS.
Yeah, it's not.
So then I
Not
was
the
like,
perfect
oh,
circle.
I need 1 damage. I action cheated my R2 because my 3P. No, that's what he attacked my 3PO, not my R2. I action cheat my R2, roll out, and then I both Chewy Blaster and R2 miss. And I'm like, well, I only need 1 damage. I'll just flip the R2 so that I can focus the Chewy Blaster later. I flip the R2, I smash him for 1, and he takes the shield off, and I cry inside.
Ugh.
So I didn't get the crackback to kill the guy, and then I just got ruined right after because my guy got shot up.
I just get punished at that point.
Yeah, so they was like, all right, this one's over. Go to the next round, and it's like, oh, Rothermo, awesome, whatever.
The same deck.
Yep, same deck. I'm like, all right, well, I already because after I messed that up, I just kind of delayed and stalled. Not like to go to time, it's just to see as much of the deck as possible, so I could like get a better understanding of what they're running.
Okay.
And then I like kept checking the discard pile and like making counts of stuff for like removal and the action cheats and everything. And I saw like 3 different sets of action cheats, and I know they love action cheats. So I was like, all right, they have 6 action cheats. I play Rothermo, do some stuff, blah, 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 whatever. I don't go hard with the damage again. And I'm like, all right, I'll go get it here. And I get hit with a Flee the Scene. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I think I was still like in an okay spot. And then I had 2 rerolls for like 70% or like 80%. And like they missed. They just completely whiffed. And I was like, oh, okay. It's that side of probability. Got you, fam. So then I didn't get the kill on the guy, and I pitched my last easy picking. So then he rolls out next round, and it's like, oh, look, the nuts. And I'm like, oh, awesome. You know what'd be great here? This easy picking I pitched as I missed my 70, 80% hits.
Of course.
Yeah. So I was just like, I got blown out right there, and it was just like, all right, we're done. And then after that, I played Taxter, and I was like, all right, I'm in an okay spot here. And I think I jammed an Entourage and got it desperated. And then he played a Vader's Fist, hit me for 3, and then I dismantled it. And then after dismantling it, I got hit for like 2 more. and I was just, or like something came down, or no, a fickle came down. He this was the situation. He had a focus on Sentinel Messenger, a 2 focus on a Jabba, and then another Jabba die. So I had a piece of removal, and I'm like, all right, he'll 2 focus into like either money or money plus 2 money, and then I'll just bang out the one of the monies, or I'll let him take the 2, or just bang out one of the monies and move on. He uses the Sentinel to focus the blank Jabba die to a straight resource and left a 2 focus. And I was like, I can't fathom one single card that this dude will have. I'm just gonna let him resolve that. He's just trying to go into Delve next round. That's fine with me. He resolves the one. I think I claim, and he fickles power action and kills my R2.
Jeez.
And I was like, or actually, he might not even kill my R2. He might have well connected and then killed it or something like that. But it was something where I was just like, oh, great. So like instead of going with my plan, I like dismantled a stupid fist
That's
instead of just taking it to the
5
dome.
big resources. Yeah, right.
Like, and all I had to do was like control the die and it would have been fine. But I was like, oh well, I'll just dismantle it and this will be fine, and he won't have anything, and I'll go to the next round and I'll start bashing his head in. And yeah, I think we ended the game like with me fighting back still in that like weird position with him have like 4 health total, and then he just did the thing where I was done and I claimed, and he did like the 17 or whatever to kill me.
I feel like JMag Rothermel Taxter is a pretty rough XO, X1, X2 matchup.
Yes. So like I ended up playing in those last 5 rounds of Swiss. I played all 4 of top 4.
Yeah, that's
But
rough. Because because you beat Bobby.
yeah, but it was like, it's fine. A lot of it was my own fault, like small little stupid, mistakes. Not really thinking about, what could I expect here? He's playing a fast deck. Flea was obviously not in my mind. Like nobody plays Flea, even though I love playing Flea.
I like Flea too. You put me on that, and I've been playing it ever since.
Yeah, but yeah, so like that was the big thing. But it'll happen. You can't win them all, is I guess I'd say it. But I was really dejected, primarily just because like the 5-0 into it. But like I guess in my mind I also tilted off. Like I just got into this thing where it's like it's fine. I'll just win one of these next 2. It's not a big problem. I'll be in there
Right.
good to go, and then I'll just crush. And I just tilted off real hard, and it was just like mistake after mistake, and then like the percentage probability misses. Like it'll happen. But people reminded me that there was the trilogy queue after, so like my frown turned upside down again, and I was good to go. Got to go make that money on the grind, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you think like losing Gen Con contributed to your win at Nova?
It did, just because I felt like I needed to make up for what happened. So like I didn't grind nearly as hard as I did before Gen Con because I was already in that like okay place, but I paid a lot of attention to the meta. I was doing the commentary for EU. I was seeing the plays, and I was like, man, these people are just playing kind of bad, and like you kind of see what people were winning with. So I was like, all right, this is the average expectation is there's going to be additional to this, additional that, probably less of this. So I think I can make good adjustments. But I had already had most of the adjustments after Gen Con. So like there were just some very small minor ones for like I didn't expect to see a lot of Ray Kylo, so I cut the dagger, and then I played against it 3 times, and I was like, oh, good thing I didn't need this.
Perfect.
So it was just small changes like that, and then making sure I was on top of my game as far as like what's the capable of coming out and doing things.
So yeah, going on to that, like what matchup were you most teching for? Like what was your with Satine, what was your most feared matchup going into the tournament?
So I'd say though, by looking at the list, the one that was probably most teched against was probably Chopper, and it's only because I had 2 EMPs. Like in theory, that also applies to Afra, so I was okay with it. And then if I'm playing against any of the other Satine ones, I could just be like, oh, you left you focused to a 3PO money. I'll just take that. Oh, you focused your R2 to a 2. Yeah, we'll just stop that. So like it wasn't dead in most of the matches. And if you can do a 0 for 2, you feel like godly at that point. Because if you just think of how much value we get from Forsaken, it's just like, okay, this will be perfectly fine. So like it always amazes me sometimes when you see like the choppers still running around, and it's like, dude, there could be a bunch of people with EMPs. You got balls.
Yeah, EMP seems like it's good pretty much against everything except Raylo right now. I mean, even against Raylo, it still hits like an R2 support. So it doesn't seem like a totally dead card against any other deck.
Palp, it's completely dead versus Palp.
Oh yeah, I forgot we had the resurgence of Palp this tournament.
It's even good versus Ewoks. Like just whatever they tutor up, you're like, oh, that's gone.
Yeah, that's true. If they get any sort of vehicle down. So were you surprised to see not as many Ewoks this tournament as Gen Con?
Well, the thing was there weren't that many Ewoks at Gen Con either. Like I guess there were some, but they were all losing, right? Like later there were a lot more.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So like I think the thing was that like my team wasn't there playing Ewoks. So that cut down a lot of the top cut Ewok stuff. Or actually that cut out all of the top cut Ewok in theory from Gen Con. There was no Ewok that wasn't the group. But we did have Chris Kirkpatrick, who I played in top 8, who was on Ewoks. And
yeah.
he was
Poor guy. I
unfortunately
saw
doomed.
he went against he went against the Ewok Slayer. So and like the challenge or whatever. I was like, oh god, this kid's got no chance. Sorry, the
Yeah,
guy that wrote the book on the Ewoks. Yeah,
yeah. Well, I didn't write the book on the oh I yeah on eating Ewoks. Yeah.
on slaughtering them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, so like, I just did I probably had like 40 games versus Ewok people that were like on point with all the stuff. I did not like actually two of the changes he made. He cut the hasties. And I think that's like a huge issue or error. And like so when I saw his deck list didn't have hasty, it meant as soon as I give him the battlefield, he can't give it back. So like
right.
I was just straight up able to dead card rig detonation. It'll never go off. I was able to just make sure I always kept him off of strength, and that was it. Like he just was never gonna get in for either of those two cards, and they're like very important in the matchup.
Right. So, from Gen Con to Nova, I mean, you ran Satine droids, the same list. Were you ever considering swerving off of Satine?
Me, no. There would have to be something very, very strong. The big thing for me a lot of the time is like my go to kind of like rules for this is if one of my guys dies, I don't want the game to be over. Just period. I'm not playing a deck where if one guy is gone, I lose the game. Because the thing is that like you'll get destinied out of games. Like even if we didn't have Chopper with action cheats, someone's gonna be like, oh, Natty rolled out 10, haha, and you're just gonna be like, oh well, I guess I lose because I didn't draw a piece of like removal. But in what I'm playing right now, like there's no one that can go and just be like Sabine, your dude's dead on the rollout. But they can put in heavy damage. You can still go get your value after, and then like fight out from it. And like all the action cheat decks pretty much start to fall apart once one guy's down. And there's a bunch of 8 health guys, so like it's not a huge issue for me there. And then like the 2 wide decks, I can stave off enough damage to have lived through the first round and know I'm going to die early on 2, but have gotten enough value that I can crack back and like from Chopper, like kill a guy back in the same round by the end. And it's like, okay, well now I still have stuff and you don't have anything. And then like versus like Raylos and stuff, like I'll give up my guy dying doesn't really matter as long as I got situated.
So, what was the toughest matchup? Was it the championship match against? I think it's Matthew Ranks. Is that his name? I think he's Bike Thief on the Discord.
Yep, he is Bike Thief. He was the only one to take a game from me in the top cut.
Right.
There's different ways to kind of purpose that and be like, oh, well, if I took the shields, I wouldn't have lost that game. It's like, well, the problem is he put me in that position and I didn't think of it. So he got me.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that was the only one I think that was close enough. So like my top 16 match, we were like 2 actions away from death, but he gave me the Jins Blaster, so there was another chance. It was like a 55 plus the 6 for it was like 70% just for the 3PO rollout to go and kill him because I could fast do the focus then fast do the 3.
Okay.
But if he didn't give me the Jins Blaster, then I could only do it off of the crate and the 3PO rollout, which would have been 63%. So like I was still good there. Like the odds were in my favor, but I could have easily just not hit right and then like lost.
Yeah.
Because we're saying that like 3 out of 8 times I'm gonna lose that match or that game, and then in theory I win the second one and lose the third potentially. It's really unknown. So like those 2 are the closest in top cut. Chopper kind of got steamrolled because like we got the trade off both games, and then Ewoks was just in a doomed position, and like
Poor guy.
he's the only guy who I started impacted all event, and I did it to him twice.
Jesus.
So, yeah, so he took like 10 and like 8 from the sudden impacts. It was yeah,
Poor guy.
but
That was a one up in your deck, right? You didn't run 2.
that was a one of I didn't run 2, but like you go through so much of it in that match because I'm slowing him down a lot and I'm not pushing out tons of damage right away. That
Right.
like I'll get through 15 or 20 cards.
So, what of the changes that you made from Gen Con to Nova? What card was the MVP switch? Was it EMP?
No, so over from Gen Con to Nova.
Gen Con to Nova, yes. What card at Nova are you happy that you teched in that you did not have at Gen Con?
Han Blaster and EMP probably split. Han Blaster came out a lot more than I would have anticipated. It came out and took out like 1 to 2 damage. I think I got 3 once as well versus the Jabba players, and it was really there for the Jabba match where they're just like, oh, here's the first thing I do. Here's my fist, and you're like, well, here's my Han Blaster. Like, take it.
Yeah,
get some.
I mean, I feel like it's really good there because they don't have any other. I mean, besides the one on
Sentinel.
Watt and one on Sentinel Messenger. Yeah,
Yep.
You're pretty much just hitting a giant die.
Yeah, so the only way like it wasn't going to be essentially good, like a Mega Blaster comes out and hits like the 1 right away.
Right.
But even then, they're probably going to resolve that very quickly because they're afraid of an easy pick before they reroll or something. So like they do not mess around there. But yeah, no. So Han was very very good like the entire time. It took lots of lots of twos. And that's the most you can kind of hope from that, right? And the sides were okay. I think the 3-for-1 is actually a trap. I played some games before where I kept resolving the 3-for-1, and I felt like an idiot because I was just always broke after.
Yeah.
But the 2 and the +3 just remind me of handheld, and they feel great.
Yeah, the +3 on that thing is great, especially if you're removing a die and then you can flip or resolve or end up getting on that +3. That's just a ton of damage, especially paired with like a fickle where you're not really investing that many resources into it.
But yeah, those two are the best. Like I'd probably say like the best overall card though in the change was the addition of the second hired muscle.
Okay.
It was an answer to the desperate measure because like they cannot let you like start bashing them with those. If you hit the 2 discard is 3 or the 3 disrupt on anybody, that it can actually take 3 resources, like that's game changing.
Yeah, it just slaughters Jabba. So I gotta ask, why, in your mind, why Satine over Chopper? Like, what does Satine bring beside? Like, I know ramp is probably your answer. And I mean, the last couple big tournaments you've played giant ramp decks, whether it be Snoke or whoever. But why else Satine over Chopper?
So if anything, it's actually why Satine over Han.
Really? So Chopper's 3 on your list?
Yes, but it's for a different reason. It's because of Fateful. Fateful has a level of power that you don't get from anything else pretty much because
Okay.
of how R2 operates and how 3PO operates. Like that is essentially another die. So for me, I like if we look at the abilities we're starting with, it's like okay, I actually have a 5 die start. And then if we count 3PO's ability to go +1 value on something, if I get a resource, that's 100% a 6th die, right? Like you take a die with the resource all day, especially if it's free.
For sure.
You would also, if you got a damage out of it, you'd be like, all right, well, 1 damage isn't really great, but we resolve 1 damage very frequently. You would take like probably a free discard, definitely a free disrupt. The ones that start becoming questionable is like, oh, would you take a 1 extra disrupt or a 1 extra shield? And it's like only in very specific situations. I'm not disrupt, indirect, sorry. Like, because like 1 indirect's
Okay.
like pointless
Yeah,
very
it's
frequently.
stupid.
Yeah, it adds up at the end, but like you're not like excited to do 1 extra indirect. So it was just like, okay, that 3PO ability is worth a die. The R2's pretty much an autofocus, and we use up focus dice like they're candy to make sure we're on max sides. So that's another die. And then the Faithful gets to copy one of them. So I'm just like, oh, this is an 8 die start. I'm gonna play with
Yeah,
an 8 die start.
yeah. When you play it that way, that it is bananas.
Yeah. So like that's the thing. Like it's ridiculous. But at the same time, those additional dice and abilities do kind of get eaten up by the fact that the removal is pretty atrocious. Like I'm running on like field medics and EMPs and like easy picking is great, but like sometimes you play those matches and you can't really use flank that well. And automated's great until the both droids die. So it's like these cards are all good, but you don't really have the zeros. Whereas like villains just like, oh no, almost all my removal is 0, and I can spend all of my money on these supports. So here's a
Right.
3 cost, here's a 4 cost, here's a 5 cost. They're gonna do like 3 dice on their own, and like I had to actually spend resources for each of my dice.
Yeah, and I mean, Faithful kind of makes up that because I mean, there's how many games did you start off where you're resolving Faithful for resources?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
no,
I feel
that
like
exactly it. So that's what I'm saying. Like it trades out from there, where
right.
because I have to spend this extra money on my removal, the 8 die start's not exactly an 8 die start, because if I play one of those cards per round that doesn't cost 0 instead, like it's like I've removed 1 from the deck.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So it's one of those like weird situations, but for me that's what it is. That's the equivalent to an 8 die start. So when you kill a 3PO or an R2, I'm losing like 4 dice, right?
Right.
Because let's say you kill the R2, the 3PO ability lost a pump unless I'm willing to pay a resource, which I'm not. The Faithful lost the ability to do anything unless I'm willing to pay a resource. So I lost those 2, plus I lost the R2, plus I lost his focus. So I lost 4 dice essentially by killing the R2. And you lose like 5 dice by killing the 3PO. R2 still gets his focus, so as long as you have the proper dice, you don't actually lose that ability. And most of my dice match up with his ability. Chewbacca 2, handheld 2, hired muscle 2 for 1, Satine's 2s. So like you're still in an okay spot. So
Yeah, Jins is
realistically,
a 2.
yeah, each of those droids you're losing, 4 dice when they die. So it's a very large differential once one goes down. And it's like, how far did I get before its death?
That makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So like it's a crazy 8 die start, except 4 of them are attached to 8 health. And once
Yeah, it
that
just
8 health
falls
gets
off.
pushed in, you're just like, oh, okay. Now I'm back to like regular, and I still have to pay all this money for all these removal. So like that's why I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, droids is ridiculous. But anyone that can, push their shit in and take down a droid, like if you just go balls to the wall and you can push a droid down, you stem the bleeding essentially like immediately. Like they slow down heavily. But
So
yeah, that's why
where
it's me versus. That's why I put Satine versus Han, because like the thing there is like, okay, the Han has like similar. It has the 2 resources you can go with. You can Fateful and do the stuff, but you lost a 3PO die in the process, and you've essentially changed the way the deck's going to operate. But you could run it the same way. It's just you're short an additional die. Whereas
right.
Chopper is a very different thing, because you're not going to get to do 3PO. You're going to be pushing damage primarily, and then like you're kind of looking for the disrupts and stuff. But that whole action sheet thing was predicated by Destiny count, so you could play that as like a pseudo ramp deck and change stuff around. I've done it, but it doesn't operate the same because you don't have as many focus sides. You don't have as many resource sides available, so you can't get the money consistently, and you don't have access to Fateful.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So where in your mind does the droid deck that you're playing, so of all the decks that you've kind of ran at big events, where do the droids on a power scale rank, you think? If you were to like, we're talking about drive by, we're talking about Snoke Thrawn, we're talking about all those big decks, where do you think droids rank?
So droids ranks pretty low on the totem pole,
Do you
primarily
think
because
so?
only because they don't have access to friends in low places. Each of those other decks had access to friends in low, except for no, Snoke had it too, I think, for a while, right? He had it for a while until he got to Watto. Then it rotated.
Correct,
Yeah,
yes.
so when it was with Sienna, I still had friends in low and like Bazine and all those. So like I could make sure the coast was clear and then go in. But like it's really just like a timing differential. If desperate measures didn't exist, then I would definitely put this deck higher than where it is. But like from a meta perspective, it's not a tier 0, I guess, as far as I'm concerned. It's actually quite hard to play, and there's a lot of like sequencing and like making sure you just teeter on the line of death very frequently to kind of get your value in that the other decks didn't really have to cope with nearly as much. I could take
That's
11
interesting.
damage in the other decks and just be like, yeah, good job. You removed 1 die. I don't care. I'd probably put it above like Snoke Bazine, but it'd be lower than Snoke Watto. Because Snoke Watto was just a masterpiece. Like that was you just get 5 resources and your opponent could not stop it.
That was stupid.
Yeah.
What do you think is the number one? Now that we're on topic, I'm interested to see what you think of all the decks you've played at big tournaments. What
FN.
is it really before the nerf?
Pre nerfs FN was absolutely ridiculous. Like decks couldn't bust in the 11 to kill him, and if they did, they put a bunch of redeploys on Bala, and then if Bala got the kill, he untapped and killed the other guy pretty much.
Yeah, that was before my time. I wasn't around the game until like Legacies, so I think I missed. I've heard about
Oh,
the glory days with FN. Yeah, I've heard stories passed down through the generations of FN's dominance, but yeah, I never got to see it.
so the breakdown was this: imagine you had a 12 health character, all right, and you just started the game, and then he died. That's what happened frequently. But like in the Poe matchup, you would just go balls to the wall. We killed Poe's round 1 in top cut of NA champs. I killed Poe round 1 in 2 games, and then I was close to killing him round 1 in the second game that I lost. Or I think I made like, yeah, I almost killed him, but I failed a little too hard. Like too many of the die rolls went bad.
So you won Gen Con with FN?
Yeah.
Okay. And then did Bobby run the same deck? Because you beat Bobby in that tournament,
Yes.
right?
We ran the
And he
same
ran the
deck.
same
We got
deck?
first and second.
That's
And
hilarious.
I tried to combo kill him round 1 the same way. And then he Night Sistered me. And I was like, oh, yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I was like, Night Sister, Night Sister, Night Sister. And then like he was like, oh, yeah, I'm done passing now. I'm going to Night Sister my own die. And now I'm going to kill your Night Sister on untap. And I was like, oh, oh no. He got me.
So now after Gen Con,
Mhm.
so I've already basically pretty much assumed that I think Bobby wins Gen Con, you win Nova. I think Cuenca is he pretty much like a lock for Worlds at this point?
To win it?
Yeah, like Cuenca. I mean, it's like the hyper scoop, complete the three-peat, you know?
That would complete the triple crown, right? Like if anyone from the team wins Worlds, that would complete the triple crown. I think it'll
Yeah.
be really hard for Cuenca to do it. He is the people's hero most of the time.
He's the people's champ, man.
He is, but the dilemma is he doesn't tend to get enough testing in.
Okay.
He's very busy with a lot of his real life stuff, and so like he gets testing in. We do we do the talking and stuff. If he puts in the amount of time that most of the guys are putting in recently, then he could definitely get up there. But for the most part, he's been going into a lot of matches without really like being 100% sure on how he wants to go about it or attack it. And there's like some small differentials in what he's playing for his list versus what he would have decided if he like after the event. Like he played Hailfire and I think he was okay with it, but I don't think he was happy about them by the end.
Right.
And it's just something that like if you get more testing into the meta, you were unhappy with it, you would have known by then, right?
I mean, do you think he can get there with Afra? I know he like loves her, and he's probably one of the, if not the best Afra player that plays her every single tournament. I mean, I just don't see from our testing. I know it's not high level stuff like you guys are, but I just don't see Afra getting there consistently enough against Raylo and then droids and then Jabba and all that.
If he can figure out a way to be able to fight back versus like the choppers and the droids and focus a guy down, I think he'd be in a good spot. But the dilemma is you have to figure that out, and you also have to not get destroyed by desperate measures. And
Right.
that's like a really hard combination of things to
Just a
do.
blowout.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be a blowout because they're getting their droids in for one, so they can get something else in for one behind it, or get a resource and then go in with something for two. But it's real hard to go in with a play like a 000 and then try to follow up with a hailfire.
But yeah, if you get like a 000 DM'd or something, it just takes down your damage curve so much. And I think the clock is just like what, 3 rounds, 4 rounds at the latest right now. And if you're DMing a 000, I mean, your clock just extends that much more.
I think for that, that's based on deck. You can build a deck so that it's not heavily predicated on relying on 000.
Okay.
Like the expectation right now is that Afra needs to go 000 and then play like 6 cards that deal indirect to herself to deal extra to the opponent to like put a feasible clock out. And that's she doesn't have to play that way. There are definitely other ways to do it. That was just the efficient way to do it before because you were drawing like essentially 2 extra cards around between Grand Design and Sentinel, and then whatever other indirects you went through, so you could filter through the deck very quickly. But if you look at the current list, I assume he posted today, there's not nearly as many indirect to himself to trigger off of 000. So he's not nearly as hurt by 000 going down as the decks used to be.
Okay, that makes sense. What is so what does Worlds look like for you? Are you like gonna declare that you're staying on Satine, or are you like more inclined to change it up now that you won with her, or like what's the deal?
If Worlds was this weekend, I would just be on Satine because of the comfortability. Like I've had that many
Yeah,
reps with her. I understand all the matches. I know how to attack it. Realistically, I'm gonna be messing around with a bunch of other stuff and see if I can, trailblaze into some other deck for Worlds. That can kind of just be more explosive. But the dilemma is that there's not much room for finding like new busted stuff. It would have to kind of be stuff that's already busted, but there's been a configuration that wasn't kind of like figured out or handled, and then kind of go from there. And like the dilemma is like you gotta mark the check boxes. You have to be capable of dealing with supports. You have to be able to put in like that 10 damage direct by like round 2 in order to take down a droid, so that you don't just let them go crazy on you. You have to not die when you lose one guy that has like 10 health or 8 health, and there's just like those few things like that all matter. And if you can check all those boxes, then you're probably going to be at least tier 1.5 or tier 1 for Worlds, because you should be capable of beating most of the decks like that.
so yeah, that kind of brings me to the next. You kind of answered it, and then are there any cards specifically that you've eyed that you're kind of interested in exploring? It doesn't have to be just from this set, but anything that has caught your attention that you're kind of wanting to see if there's something there.
Admiral was always that card that's like, hey, if you can figure out an Admiral deck, because the way it operates is like the old Seven Sister theory, which is like untap my guy, smash your face, untap my guy, smash your face, untap my guy. You could do pretty disgusting things, but you have to be able to protect it by like getting into the hand. You have to be capable of killing any embargo that comes down on it. You need to be capable of coping with not finding it, or be capable of drawing cards to find it. Like you can't just be all in on that and then lose because the both of them were in the bottom 10 cards of your deck.
Right.
But that's one of the ones that you can try to like break. I have to go through the card list and see if there's anything else that's like super kind of busted that we have to like see if there's any sort of availability or option there to do stuff. Because like realistically, if you could like put a Chewy Blaster on an R2 and untap them and use it like 3 times in a round, you'd probably kill most people, right?
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Did you were you like not I wouldn't say nervous is the right word, but with the Palp Madi player, were you like
Was I
prepared for
concerned?
that matchup? Not necessarily concerned, because I feel like you're not one to like kind of get concerned with stuff like that, but were you prepared if that were is that like a new thing that you guys tested against, or was it just something that you would have kind of had to come up with on the fly had he not had to catch his flight?
So Bobby Sapphire did play Palp Madi before. With
Okay.
Admiral, like we were testing Palp Madi Admiral and Palp Watt Admiral. So I have had tested before and tested against it before. And like the rough breakdown is they can't resolve that 2-for-1 round 1 because they're too poor for it. But
Right.
they'll gladly resolve the discard for 1, and then like, and that one's a bit more scary because like the thing is that a lot of my hand matters, because it's like, okay, this is removal. This is like me casting my supports or upgrades, and like my whatever few rerolls I need, if any at all. If his damage isn't flowing, then I can get to round 3 potentially with my droids, and I could like potentially keep him choked. But the thing is like I wouldn't have known his exact list until I saw it. But the bigger thing is I had no need to think about his list. primarily because I already knew he had to make his flight.
Oh, you knew that going into that?
I knew that going into like top 16 already. Mephisto, which I want to say it's Dan San Miguel. Sorry if I screwed that up, though, bro.
No, I met him at Adepticon. He's a good guy.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure if that was the if I had mixed up the first name, but I knew the last name was San Miguel.
Okay.
But he had already told me. He was like, "Oh, Rulin has to make his flight." Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he got to the finals and then scooped because he had to go make his flight. And then I was just laughing my ass
Jeez.
off because I would like imagine if this dude goes to the finals and then we hyper scoop because dude has to make his flight. It would just be like,
Could you
it'd be-
you imagine the backlash on that shit?
oh yeah, people would have
That'd
went
have been-
bananas.
Oh God. I thought it was, I mean, it was crazy that he spent like it was a 6-hour game against Drew, knocks him out, and then literally is just like, all right, I have to leave.
Well, he did finish the other game. He was trying to go as far as he could. Like, the thing you got to understand there, right? So imagine you go in, you know, you work super important, you have a certain amount of time, but you want to test your mettle. You want to see how far you can get.
Yeah, I completely get that.
So
I mean, for sure.
he goes through, and then he still has enough time to go through the other set, or potentially the other set, depending time if he can run through fast. But he knows the deck's slow. He wins game one, and he just knows he's done with it. And like the thing there was that Ranks had scooped early instead of trying to push it out and like potentially losing like another 10 minutes. So
Okay.
like I don't know if there was some like level of, you know what, this is a good guy, I'm gonna give it to him at the end, and maybe he had a little bit more time to push it. Maybe he knew like, hey, if I go win this match and I scoop, this guy's gonna get like stomped on and it's gonna be ridiculous because I'm not missing my flight. And then the dude who's playing, I'm playing in the finals, if he just gets the scoop, like there's going to be crazy amounts of controversy. So like maybe it's just, you know, I want to get my first one, see how it goes and go from there. The thing you don't know or may not have known is that Ira Faye did that at Gen Con, the year that I won.
Yeah, I heard about that. Didn't he do something similar to at Worlds too? Or was that just Gen Con?
It was both Gen Cons. Both of the first
Okay.
two Gen Cons. So oddly enough, the first time he did it versus me, we played, I think, a game, and I won the first game, and then but he was already saying he was scooping because he had to go make his flight. But we try to play it out quickly so we could play for the mat. And I think we got through that, and I won the first game. 90% sure. I'm honestly, my memory doesn't remind me very well right now. But oddly enough, in Gen Con 2, the same thing happened, and he was playing against Mike Gem.
I remember. That's what I didn't know he scooped against you. I knew he scooped against Mike, and I think there was people complaining about that. Like it was like a Hyperloop, like handshake deal or something like that.
Well, so the other thing that people may not know is I've known this guy from my old card gaming back in Naruto.
Okay.
So like I'm cool with him. We were testing with him at several times way before. I talked to him about like deck list stuff back during the FN days. So like maybe somewhere to him it was like, you know, he's not going to play anyways. He wants to go to this other stuff. I'm just going to scoop to let my friends in. But from my understanding that there was nothing like shady going on. But it does, you know, tend to kind of look bad. But he's essentially just like Rulin, where it's just like, no, I got to go make my flight, or I have these other games scheduled. I didn't even think I was going to get this far. I just wanted to, you know, I enjoy the game. I want to see how far I get.
Does he still play?
Ira, no, he's currently playing other stuff. I talked to him the other day, but yeah, no, he's playing other games right now.
I played against him on TTS one time, like
He
a
plays
while
real
ago,
slow.
and I just remember, yeah, but I also remember him just like smoking me with like some, I don't even know, like jank build, and just absolutely killed me. It was probably like a Sabine deck back in the day.
Yeah, he was playing
like,
Sabine, Sabine back in the old days. We're all testing in a room, and we almost lost our mind because I think he tried to like bamboozle somebody, like the card bamboozle, and he was like, "What do you guys think about this?" And it's like, "You're out of your goddamn mind."
Yeah, throw that right in the garbage.
Yeah.
All right, so last question for you,
Yep.
unless more come up, but last main question. So look into the future now. So what do you think is going to be like with this covert missions delay? I know you're one that you played. You said the Naruto card game. I don't know if you've been involved in a lot of other competitive card games, but there are a lot of people that are talking about how this delay kind of seems bad for the game. I mean, obviously any delay is bad, but this one particularly just seems kind of, it was a weird announcement how they did it, and it was just kind of throwaway. What do you think the delay kind of means in terms of the health of the game? And then I do have a follow-up question before.
So I wouldn't
after.
say they announced it as much as they went, "Oh crap, I just leaked it."
Yeah,
Because there
that's
was
how
a
it felt.
question, and then like the guys were like, you know, it's coming, you know, we got to delay 2020. I probably shouldn't have said that crap.
Yeah, right.
And then everyone was like, oh. It was like, oh. So the dilemma is like, what? Legacies got delayed. I don't know when you exactly started, but we had legacies from January all the way through like June.
Yeah, I was like end of January was when I bought like the boba starter set and then jumped in after that.
Yeah, so what the thing is, like, you were new at the time, and you probably may not even noticed it was, like, a couple months longer than usual for one
No,
of
I
these
I
things.
didn't.
Yeah, so, like, we've already had to do it. Legacies was super long. This delay is going to end up being longer than Legacy, but, like, this game's kind of always been riddled with issues like that. In the initial set of Awakenings, you could not find product, and then, like, the second wave came out, and those got sold, and you couldn't find product again. And then we like had Spirits of Rebellion and it came out, but it came out in these like crazy like short print pre-release things, and then you couldn't get product. And then like the other wave of Awakenings came in as the last print one for Awakenings, and like people were freaking out and they're like, "No, you can't do this as your last print run." And it was just like this huge print run, so it was like, "Oh, okay." And then like Spirit Rebellion came back again, and we were able to get more of that. So like they've just had issues for forever. Just most of you guys haven't had to suffer through it.
Yeah, I remember the Legacies meta. I mean, it was like the first worlds, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." I mean, but I didn't have a collection. I was just jumping into the game, so like for me, it didn't feel as long as like I'm sure it did for you guys, just because I wasn't playing competitively. I was more playing like just rec, and I was still catching up on all of the collection. With that, by the time the next set came out, I was like, "Oh, I just dove into this game, and now we already get new cards. This is cool."
Yeah. So like the part of the issue there, I think, is that like people are just they want new stuff all the time. They want something fresh and exciting. They want the next season of their favorite series, and it's like you gotta wait for it, bro. Chill. Game of Thrones, the last season is gonna be split into two. I'm gonna give you 8 episodes, and you're gonna wait a year by, and you're just like, wait, what? But
Yeah, like
what?
I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah.
Like I think it is a very good meta, and I still think that there's a few things to discover. I think the only problem is for me, and I know logistically this can never add up, especially with a card game. Like Worlds should be the culmination of everything. So as soon as Worlds hits, it should be like, okay, we're on to the next season. And it would have been cool if that would have. It seemed like that was going to be the case. We have Gen Con, we have Nova, Worlds. Worlds ends, and okay, boom, now we have set 9, and here's this brand new for your regionals. Go try stuff out. So I think it's kind of just discouraging that we get to see the world championship deck, and all of these primes afterwards are going to be run, and we're going to, I'm sure whatever wins is going to be just
Played, yeah,
everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah, and it's going to win all these primes and worlds and stuff, and it's just
Well, so question: did you play a lot of Kylo Anakin after it won Worlds?
hell no, no.
Yeah. So you don't really know
But
until
I
something
played
wins?
drive by. I played drive by a ton.
Sure, okay.
Yeah,
But
that was like the buzz deck. But yeah, Kyle Anakin was just whatever. But I mean,
that's
definitely
what
played.
won.
Yeah, I know. But coming out of that, I feel like Kyle Anakin, everyone was just like, we already knew that was a thing. Let's all play drive by, or like everyone was trying to still play stairs at that time too.
Yeah. So like there's a bunch of just, weird things that go on. So like it does stink that you're like, "Oh, probably every major is going to be in the same meta for the most part." But at the same time, that also means it gives people enough time to like have the meta kind of lock in, and then people go and like explode with the new thing. Like if Legacies wasn't so delayed, we may have never had drive by, because I didn't
Yeah,
make that
that's
until like a week before. Like I think like 3 weeks before I had like a pet deck for it, and then I was re-going through my list stuff like a week before, and I was like, man, this one never actually lost. Why did I stop playing this? And then I just picked it back up, made the tweaks, and like started jamming immediately and going from there.
yeah, that still blows my mind that that was made a week before. I thought you were sitting on that thing for a while.
No, no, man. Like there was that one game I played it, or like 2 games I played it, and I was like, oh, this was really interesting. But it was really like an update to some old cool deck that I was like having fun with, that I called Captain Planet, which was like Elite Cannon, Elite Ezra, and I think a Rookie Pilot. And I was like,
Oh
this thing's
God.
amazing. Yeah, yeah. So I was like, this is hilarious. This is great. And I was playing like X8. Is X8? I can't even remember. I think it's X8.
X8's the
Sniper
night
rifle. Yeah,
sniper.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Night
I
Sniper,
love
and
that
I was
card.
like playing that, and I was playing the crappy slingshot. Enter- I was
Oh
I,
God.
I had like
Ugh.
all these things. I had rally aid for like my vehicles and my Y wings and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. I'm just like busting caps in people's butt, and then it was just like, all right. So then like realistically, the Yoda deck was an update from there, because I was like, all right, well, Yoda makes more sense because like Cannon was only like the one range side. So I can fix with this. I can do Ezra stuff. I can do like my Y Wings. Like I can do really cool things here. And like it was pretty much a mix between that deck, the Captain Planet deck, and when I was playing like the Pew Pew, which was like the Wookiee warrior Yoda Padawan, because I was like, oh, I want to get like all this free value from stuff. So like it was just those decks and me trying to get as much value as possible while like making it so when a guy died, I didn't feel bad.
Do you think that we can? So the follow-up question to the covert mission delay. Do you think that we can expect kind of like a balance to try and shake up the meta?
We could also, what, 2 days from now is Force Friday?
Yeah, that's true.
So like we could be getting something brand new we didn't know about. The original 2-player set, we had no idea what was going on. That like dropped in the middle of Nova.
And that came. I mean, that there's so many good cards in that thing.
Yeah, we were just like, oh, what's this? And like we were all rushing out to targets and getting like, I remember Kowalski had that huge freaking Porg thing, and he was just carrying it around, and the thing was as big as him. And that dude's like 6 foot something. I was like, yo, what's this? And we were just all trying to get around and get them, and like we were all on the looper thing, and like the dudes were like, oh, I got a couple extras. Anyone need them? I'm like, yes, please. And they're like, I'll bring it over. I'm like, awesome. And like we were just like, oh, we're playing with it and testing. And we're like, this is kind of crazy. But so like we could be getting something new there potentially that could like mix some stuff up or at least introduce a new type of deck or some cards that like screw with the meta a little bit. Like who knows? But you know, maybe we get something that like shuts off an ability, kind of like the what is it, mind transfer? Not mind transfer.
Oh, mind extraction.
Mind extraction, yeah. Like we could get something similar to that where maybe it shuts off like activated abilities as opposed to like the normal abilities, and that would
Right.
mess with like droids, right? Like if we got something for 0 where your opponent has to pay 1 to like remove something, or just something in general that like the next time they activated the ability, like, or for the round it stayed and negated the ability and then it went away after.
Yeah, we were on our podcast yesterday. We were talking about like we kind of centered around like how powerful plots are right now, and we were talking about kind of hot fixes that we can potentially see for maybe a like kind of plot hate because there's nothing that really exists. And one of the things that we said was maybe like a stifle like card, or not a stifle, but like a vigilance like card that disappears at the end that negates the effect of a plot for a round or something like that, or like it prevents a plot from being exhausted. I think that's what we came with. So like it couldn't mess with like profitable or temporary truce or something like that, but it could maybe stop faithful companions for a turn or something like that.
That just sounds terrible. If you can't kill it, it sounds awful.
I mean, for you, yeah, but
No,
I mean,
it sounds
I feel
awful
like
in general. As like if you're playing a silver bullet to try to stop my random 1 die on the side,
right.
You're gonna pay like a resource to stop my faithful one round. That's the same as me just not getting the resource.
Yeah, I mean, and it was just like something that we were just like kind of
Yeah.
brainstorming because we said you can't kill a plot because that's too OP. But how do you fix it without going so far as to kill it versus
No,
kind of just stopping
killing
it?
A plot's probably okay.
You think so?
It still wouldn't hit any of the ridiculous ones, and you'd probably have to pay like 2 for it.
Yeah, but I mean, I still feel like I mean, getting rid of a faithful doesn't kill that deck, but it definitely, I would say, changes things a bit, maybe.
If you paid all of your resources to kill my faithful, how do you feel?
You'd be okay. I mean,
I'd
yeah,
be
I guess
okay
it's
with it.
true.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, okay, I lost my faithful, but like you played a bad card. You paid 2, so like I'm already ahead right now. But I'd be a little sad, right? Like any of the aggro decks playing it would be like, yeah, beat up faithful. But then like when you play against Jabba, you're like, what the hell's this card doing here? And then you play Chopper, and you're like, what's this card doing here?
Yeah, it's just dead everywhere else.
Yeah. So then it's just like, oh, but like you beat up that AR guy real good, buddy. Like,
Oh yeah.
that guy
That's
cried.
the dream.
Yeah.
That's the dream. All right, man. Before we wrap it up, do you have anything else that you'd like to say, or any other things that we didn't get to talk about?
No, man. Like it's one of those tough ones. Like because I have my own medium, like I can, if I want to talk about something, I can just go and do it. Right? Like it's that easy. I'd say the biggest thing, guys, is like for those of you struggling with droids, right? If you can get your locals to like, I don't know, make a truce pact or something to not play like the tier 1 stuff or tier 1.5 stuff, you could definitely make the locals more enjoyable. You know, you could talk to people, see if maybe get trilogies going or like the whole solidarity events if you're just trying to kind of spruce up a lot of that stuff. I think it would also be interesting if any of the regionals just decided to go trilogy, right? We got this delay. Trilogy might be more interesting than standard.
That
So
would be
like
awesome.
think about stuff like that. If you guys are concerned about stuff like see what it is, see how the community feels about it. A lot of the regional stuff you're gonna get people maybe from like a couple hours away. But if you guys get stuff posted, you make stuff known on the Discords, Facebook, Reddits, maybe it becomes like a thing where people are really interested or intrigued in it. And then like for those of you that are struggling with being able to kind of beat droids and Jabba and everything just feels bad, I'll say the same thing I've said on our podcast, on the other podcasts. There's a couple check marks you just have to do. I'd say number 1, start with a yellow villain, so you can have 2 desperate measures. Those beat or they cause like huge issues for a lot of the top tier decks right now. So if you start with that, you're going to be in a good position because the person's already going to have to be afraid of desperate. And then from there, you just want to be able to try to put in like that 8 to 10 damage by like the fourth action of like round 2. If you can do that, then you could actually beat probably most decks that exist in the meta right now. I'm not saying you're going to be ahead in the matches, but you're capable of actually winning. You won't have an auto loss if you can actually do that. And then like from there, you would hope that you can use some stuff with like board state things, maybe Fickles or things like that. But for the most part, if you can get the 10 damage, have access to desperate measures, and also not lose the game when you take like 10 damage, you'll be in a good spot.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks for that. Well, that about wraps us up for this edition of the Loth-Wolf podcast. Joe, I just want to thank you again for coming on and doing this for us. It really does mean a lot for kind of our viewership and just everything. So I really do appreciate it. And thanks for that. Good luck with Worlds and everything else coming up. And for all of you guys, thanks for listening to the Loth-Wolf podcast.
Anytime, Ryan. Anytime. You guys have a great one.
You too.
Thanks for listening. Deuces.